Hi, this is Henry Penix with the Frequency Effect, and I have a very special guest this morning on our podcast, Dr. Paul Harris. This guy's bio is as long as this room is wide. He's been involved with so many wonderful things. He's got such a great pedigree, and we're so fortunate to have him a part of Soaak as well. You'll see him on the channel with Aaron, the science of Soaak. They go through a lot of great things, but I wanted to have him on today and go through more of a lifestyle of how he amassed all of this knowledge and where he is today and where he's taking that in the future. So we're so excited to have him. You can read his bio in the show notes, and I think you're going to be really, really, really touched by this interview.
This is a Soaak podcast.
Welcome to the Frequency Effect, sponsored by Soaak Technologies, where inspiration fuels innovation. Join our experts as they elevate your mind, body, and spirit, one conversation at a time. This is the Frequency Effect.
Dr. Harris, thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure. I look forward to it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, let's. I said this was going to be a lifestyle segment. Let's go all the way back to when you were growing up as a kid. Where are you from? What were you like? Are you as ornery back then as you are now? Like, I want to know all those things.
Yes to all of those.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I grew up in Florida.
Okay.
And my dad was the president of a Bible college. And
Nice.
and we had books all over the house, and same thing in my own home now, books everywhere.
Right.
So I was raised in an environment of learning, reading, studying. I knew all the other kids were wanting to play football, and I was always reading books.
Right.
I was wanting to spend Saturdays in the library. So,
And was that a natural curiosity, or was it because your dad told you to, or a little bit of both?
probably a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I've just always really enjoyed learning and intrigued with nature and natural medicine. And I remember when I was in grade school, I should have brought it. I wrote a little article when I was in grade school, and it was on health and eating healthy and exercising and things like that. So it's just something
In grade school?
In grade school.
Oh my gosh.
So it's just something I was born with. So
Right.
And my dad also was very much into health. As a matter of fact, he owned a health food store in Lakeland, Florida, and at the time I was in pre-med and working at the health food store during the day and then going to school at night. And so that was my first introduction to a more serious, natural approach to health problems and challenges.
Wow. So then going up through, if you wrote a paper in grade school and you're going up through junior high school, college, what happened then? What made the shift in your mind that said this is something, being a holistic naturopathic doctor, this is something that I really want to pursue? What switch flipped that said this is my goal in life?
I can tell you exactly what switch flipped was. As I was working in the health food store, I was introduced to things I had never seen before. Smelled these stinking herbs, and it was just really weird stuff. And I remember seeing my first gallon jug of natural apple juice. Had all these things floating around in it. And,
Right.
and I asked my dad, I said, can we really sell that? He said, yes, it's the mother. And then I began to listen to some of the customers that were coming in, and they were saying, I had this particular problem, and I took this herb or I took this supplement, and now I'm better. And I got off my drug and my medication. And after several years of hearing that, I began to make a shift. I mean, I'm studying anatomy and physiology and how the cardiovascular system works, and having to trace a drop of blood from your heart as it goes through all the cells of the body and how it gets back to the heart. I was fascinated with that. Made great grades in anatomy and physiology, but I became really enchanted and enamored with natural healing and natural medicine. Mm-hmm. It kind of fit the mindset of the home I was raised in.
Right.
A funny little story. My dad was part of a group many years ago, and it was they were buying wholesale nutrients and vitamins and minerals. I forget the name of it, but one of the products was a protein powder. And I remember my dad expounding on the benefits of the protein powder, how it helps your skin and your hair.
Right.
And I thought, that sounds really interesting. So my dad and my mother took a trip to the grocery store. And so while they were gone, I took the can of protein powder and I mixed it up with some water and put it on my head. I was thinking, hey,
for your hair?
If it works, because I was always about my hair.
Right.
And I thought, if it works taking it internally, it's got to work on my hair.
Right.
So about that time they came home, and it looks like I've got a mud pack on my head.
Oh, no, that's
Dad,
so funny.
Dad explained to me, son, this is to be taken internally and not externally.
Right.
So that's just part of my history of goofiness in terms of natural health care.
And did your father always explain things to you like in detail? Because I know even now, and I don't want to jump to the end of this story too fast, but I know even now when I ask you questions about anything, I mean anything, gut health, blood-brain barriers, the vaccine, anything, you go into depth with this knowledge that's almost unbelievable. And until people really hear you speak, and I've brought, one-star generals from some of our military work in your office, and they will leave saying, where did you find this guy? Like honest to God, it's not just, I'm not just trying to brag on you now, but you have a way of going into depth and still letting the person understand that. Did that also stem from your father, or did you learn that in all your readings and education? And I know you've been to a jillion seminars and read a jillion books and all that, but where do you think you got that from?
That's called hyperbloviation.
Okay. That's the other thing. Whenever I speak with you, I have to go to my dictionary. And hyperbloviation, friends.
So really, I got that from my teaching experience because for years I was traveling worldwide with other doctors, and our goal was to teach other practitioners, I mean, literally all over the globe, how to introduce and employ functional medicine in a conventional medical practice. And I'm talking all over Europe, Germany, Australia, South America.
I would imagine, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but I would imagine, especially in Germany, I've done a lot of work there, and I've written books there and toured there, spoke there. That area is so scientifically backed to try to introduce anything holistic. I mean, just now we're kind of catching on to the means and the modalities of a more holistic lifestyle, but I would imagine a few years ago, even probably today, especially in Germany, because there's such a there's like Missouri, they're like a show me state. They're like, I got to see it before I can believe it. But you were trying to teach more of a functional medicine, holistic. Was that not difficult?
It was difficult, and what I'm attempted to do was balance out medicine and sophistication with a little common sense and bring it down on a level which makes it understandable. Because this is a sophisticated subject and topic. Right. I presented years ago. We were in Greece doing presentations in Greece, and I presented.
Wasn't that for the Olympic team?
That's the Olympic Committee. It's actually the Olympic compound in Athens, Greece.
Oh, wow.
And the group I was with, the doctor that was going to do that presentation said, I've got to go to Rome and do a presentation. You need to fill in my spot. I said, you're the expert on that. He said, you've heard me talk enough. You should be able to handle it. So I had
He left you there?
I had like 4 hours to prepare. And so this is in front of the entire medical team at the Olympic compound in Athens, Greece.
Oh, my gosh.
No pressure, dude.
Yeah, I
Just
know.
get after it.
Don't mess up.
So I thought I did a pretty good job. So we went from there then to a medical school in Athens, Greece. And so we presented the functional medicine concept there. So the point is, there has to be a degree of sophistication and science to back it up in order to add validity to this world of functional medicine versus conventional medicine. So I've tried to balance that out. Sometimes I get too heavy on the science end of it. But I also do that.
Well, I think that's what's great about you, though, is because what I said earlier. You when you explain a concept or a theory to somebody, you have that perfect balance of being able to communicate very hard ideas and concepts. And even though you throw these 12-syllable words in there, sometimes that people have to look up, you still have a way to bring that back and make it real to the person. Most people that I've talked to in this industry are either so wooey that you write them off and discredit them, or they're so scientific you can't understand them. But you seem to hit that intersection and in a very sweet spot.
Well, and to that point, there is a lot of woo-woo in medicine.
100%.
So I don't want to go there.
Right.
I'm very serious about what I do. I've spent my life. I mean, I've been doing this for over 56 years.
Wow.
And I've lectured to doctors literally all over the world. I've done lectures in every state of the union but two, North Dakota and South Dakota. And so I've had to present before a very sophisticated audience that was skeptical.
Right.
We're talking medical doctors, neurologists, PhDs, science-based individuals. And so when you're presenting these concepts, you need to use the 50-letter word.
Right.
And let them know, I know what I'm talking about,
Right.
and so you need to listen to what I'm saying.
Right.
It's not that I'm the sharpest tool in the shed or know everything, but at least I'm in the shed.
A lot of doctors think you are, though. I know a lot of people that I've met, including the work we've done with the military, all know either of you or about you, or when they meet you, you totally set them back on their heels. And I so appreciate that. When you were talking earlier, I'm thinking Dr. Paul Harris, the father of functional medicine. I love that because
that's kind. I appreciate
you have so much of that experience, and now I see kind of what got you there and what drove your passion. I said in an interview the other day that our passion is driven by our compassion, and I see that in you too, because you're so compassionate for people, and no matter what the circumstances, you always want them to be better. You care about people. No matter if it hurts you sometimes, even to a fault. I've seen this in your own life. You care for people, and you can't stop caring.
Well, that's and I appreciate that. That is really what drives me at my age. I should be retired. I'm just tired.
Right. Zig Ziglar used to say, "I'm not going to retire. I'm going to refire."
Yeah. So I don't plan on retiring. I mean, when I breathe my last breath, then I'll lay down and I'll retire.
Right.
Because I see a shortage of professionals in this field that grasp these difficult concepts. Mm-hmm. At the same time, care enough about people to go the extra mile. And I spend a lot of my time with new patients encouraging them and letting them know, I've got your back. We're going to look under the hood. We're going to do a deeper dive into what's going on with you. Mm-hmm. Just know that I'm on your team, right. and we do get answers because we ask the right questions. With a new patient, we don't spend 8 to 10 minutes.
Right.
With a new patient, it's like an hour and a half. And you get a chance to know the patient and get them at a comfort level where they can indulge in things that are going on in their lives. Mm-hmm. And people are hurting today. I've been in practice for many, many years, and I've never seen as complicated cases, difficult cases, as I'm seeing now.
Right.
It's almost unbelievable. So,
and you use the knowledge that you've been blessed with to navigate that roadmap and get to the core root issue. You're not about putting Band-Aids on, but you're about getting to the core root issue.
And a big part of healing, a big piece of healing, is letting the patient know that you care and there's hope. I want them to leave my office not with hopium, but with hope.
Oh, that's great. I love that. Well, I know it's Soak, and it's been such a pleasure bringing you into the Soak Clinic family. I as you have heard this story, a real good doctor friend of mine who was over an emergency room in town for about 25, 30 years, his wife started coming to you first, and he kind of dismissed it because he's more scientific. He was over in the medical establishment. And after about 2 years of hearing his wife talk to him about you, he finally started coming to you. And he didn't know that we were even associated, just to show you what a small world it is. But when I met him, I spoke with him, and he said, Dr. Harris is one of the most intelligent guys that I've ever met. And this guy's a very, he's no hype. He's very scientific. You know who I'm talking about.
Yes.
Very scientific, very on point. And after he had seen you for about a year, you so inspired him that he is now taking functional medicine classes and listening to things that will help him sort of turn that dial to a more holistic functional medicine type practice.
Awesome.
Than just typical science. Now, look, we're not saying that science is bad. We're not saying that the medical establishment is bad. We're saying that it could be improved. And a lot of things that scientists used to call wooey with functional medicine and list of things, supplements, whatever, now they're starting to adopt because the ways that we're using computing, the ways that we're using AI now, the way that we're using machine learning, even on a quantum level, those wooey things that used to be called wooey are now not so wooey. They're now provable with science. So now the scientists have to take a step back and say, you know what? And I think COVID did this to people a lot. I think that particular pandemic made the general population take a step back and say, you know what? The things that I've been hearing the medical establishment say, not everything, but some things are at least questionable, where before it was like, I just follow what I hear and I do it. But now they've become questionable because the results weren't really there like everybody has been told. So just that ability to question, and again, I'm not against the medical establishment. I use it when I need it. You use it when you need it. But I've also opened my mind to a more holistic approach. And I think us going through COVID, I think that helped. And you seeing the harder cases now, I know that's probably also a result of what the world has went through. But I appreciate you combining Eastern medicine with Western medicine, meeting people in the middle, and really explaining that process.
Exactly. I always say you can have the best degrees and the best certificates on the wall. It's not so much as to what you know as it is what you do with what you know.
Good.
So I'd rather go to someone that has learned and they've got a heart and compassion for people. They really want to help that person and treat them like they're the only patient they have. There's many times when I go home and I'm thinking about something regarding a particular patient, and I'm still researching at 10 o'clock at night.
Right.
Because I want to help that patient.
Right.
I guess there's not...
You've got the drive to thrive.
There's an ego part to it.
There you go.
I'll confess. Yeah, there's an ego. I like to fix things that nobody else can fix.
100%.
And if you don't have that, that's part of the driving mechanism that makes you a cut above. Mm-hmm. And I always want to be the best and a cut above, because when I do that, then the patient benefits from that. Mm-hmm. And it's really about the patient.
Yep. No, 100%. I know recently, and I want to ask you a couple more questions. You guys are going to love the rest of this interview. I'm so happy to have gotten together with you this morning. So when you were introduced to Soaak, I know we have the clinic in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We're on the 51st floor of the Cityplex Towers, growing, thriving business there. Mm-hmm. You're booking patients months out. But above and beyond that, when we showed you the frequency side of things, where we could actually look at somebody that showed or presented depression, anxiety, low energy, brain fog, whatever, and showed you the sound frequency compositions that we use to support those things and to help people along their journey that present with some of those things. What have you found to be true with the Soaak sound frequency compositions?
Well, first of all, let's go back to the scriptures. When God created the earth, he didn't think the world into existence. What did he do?
He spoke.
He spoke.
Yep.
And when you speak, that's frequencies.
That's right.
And so that's where it started there.
Wow.
And
in the beginning.
In the beginning. So in the beginning was frequencies.
Right.
And so we are frequency beings. We're sensitive to frequencies and sounds and things of that nature. These frequencies can either be beneficial or detrimental. I mean, there's certain music you listen to, and it just puts you on edge.
Oh, yeah.
And there's other music that you listen to, and you feel really relaxed.
Right.
Because there's a coherence that's occurring, and it has a soothing effect. And so the frequencies, especially the sleep frequency compositions, there are patients that they're so upside down in their body chemistry and their digestion, they don't absorb things very well. So they take nutrients, and sometimes it has the opposite effect.
Oh, wow.
But I've never seen that occur with a frequency. Because if you've got, and it's not just one frequency, it's not just the quarterback. You can't win a ball game with just a quarterback. You've got to have all the players. And so the compositions are a right blend of the right halfback, tailback, quarterback, lineman, et cetera.
That's a great example.
And so
And what exactly he means by that, just for those of you who may not be familiar with sound frequency compositions, is, you can get 432 hertz, you can get whatever hertz you want to listen to it directly. But what we did at Soak was we combined up to 25 different frequencies in a frequency composition, the whole team.
Exactly.
So that we are addressing anxiety, depression, low energy, insomnia from so many different levels that your cells will hear one or more of those levels that's applicable to you, and the rest, because they're non-evasive and they're non-harmful and they're adaptogenic, so they adapt to what your body needs, and your body just discards the rest. There's no downside. So these frequency compositions, bringing the whole team, having the whole symphony there to approach a problem for a specific outcome, is what you're talking about with the Soak sound frequency compositions.
Well said. So basically it takes an incoherent environment and converts it into a coherent environment. And it does it very subtly. And again, there are cases where that's the best place to start, because they can't tolerate supplements. They can't take supplements.
Wow.
It has a reversal effect. But if you can start out with the frequencies, it's just like the heart has a frequency. And there's a group called the Heart Math Institute. And the heart sends more messages and makes more phone calls to the brain than the brain does to the heart. So the heart kind of sets the pace.
It's got its own brain.
Yeah. And the heart actually produces hormones. And so the heart field, the electromagnetic field of the heart, extends 8 to 10 feet out. That's when you walk in a room and you survey the room. You've probably seen people that you just felt unease. You didn't want to meet that person, or you wanted to go over and hug them.
Right.
And that's because that heart field
can change the vibration of the room.
It affects your heart field and your energy. And
wow.
I become so sensitive, my antenna's always up.
Right.
And I can read a person's mail without even opening up the box. So
I know you can, because you've read mine before.
So anyway, it's a beautiful way. It can either be used solely as the individual therapeutic, especially if they can't afford a lot of things. I mean, that's another great point, is if they can't afford to take a lot of supplementation, then the frequency compositions and the app is very inexpensive.
Right.
And it's something they can do. They can turn the sound down to where you can barely hear it. It's barely audible.
Right.
And it's still having benefit.
Right.
So if they're having
it's speaking to the cells.
Exactly. So if they're having a difficult day, there's an anti-anxiety frequency composition that I've used, and I was surprised. I mean, it worked really well. And then, then the dream team at night, that kind of helps.
The sleep well frequency.
The sleep well frequency.
Yeah, that's our number one listened to frequency. We're in 190 countries now, and we've done over 40 million minutes of sound frequency therapy. So one of our top listened to is the sleep well frequency. And a lot of people will turn it on just before they go to bed, and they'll keep it on as it plays through the evening. And because we can now do dual frequency, we can habit stack, and actually with the dual audio, not dual frequency, the dual audio, we can actually turn the frequency down a little bit and play it behind Bach, Beethoven, Brahms, listen to a podcast, whatever, so you can be receiving a frequency treatment as you're listening to your favorite music, your favorite podcast, your favorite audiobook. You can habit stack. So when a lot of people are sleeping, they'll put on white fan noise on their phone or whatever and have that frequency playing in the background, so it teams up and kind of double teams your ability to relax and to sleep.
Well, it's very similar to homeopathy, and homeopathic medicine is as old as allopathic medicine. And this is not exactly relating to this conversation, but it's interesting, and I think there are some similarities. The way homeopathics work is you can take for example, you can take a dual trace oscilloscope and establish a waveform. You can superimpose and reverse phase 180 degrees out of phase that same waveform. And so now what you've got is a waveform like this, and it will flatline. It'll cancel it out. Wow. And so if you take a Crotalus hortus, for example, which is rattlesnake venom, make a homeopathic out of it, then if you've got necrotic tissue, you're getting, like taking the hair off the dog that bit you. You're getting just a little bit of that same frequency that helps to cancel out the frequency of the infection or whatever it is.
Right.
So I think to an extent, you've got this aberrant vibratory frequency, and the Soaak frequencies is almost like a reverse phase inversion upside down, and it cancels out the aberrant frequency and then promotes physiological coherence in whatever it is you're doing.
And homeostasis. You're back to average. And we think that the body is fearfully and wonderfully made, and if you can get to that homeostasis or just that normality, that sweet spot, your body has the power to heal itself and do wonderful things. Yeah.
Another thing it does too, the Bible says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So
did you just hear that? As a man thinketh in his heart.
Exactly.
I never knew what that meant until you just said previous that the heart sends more messages to the brain than the heart. So the heart does think.
The heart thinks.
As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he.
So what do most people think about? Most people think about fear, negativity, what they don't want. If that's what they're focusing on, they're becoming what they don't want.
Right. They're giving that energy.
And so they need to reverse that thought process and focus on, what the scriptures say that you are. I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. And the positive input from family members and from your practitioners.
Wow.
And focus on the positive. And in effect, that's like a reverse phase inversion. And that positive is canceling out the negative and the fear-based emotions. And you get stuck in that, what we call the limbic system trauma loop. And it helps to correct that and bring more physiological coherence into your entire body chemistry and brain chemistry.
So I've listened to people talk about the HPA axis, hypothalamus pituitary adrenal
axis. Yeah,
I learned one big word from you.
That's right. I'm impressed.
And when that gets stretched out through cortisol spikes and through running away from the saber-toothed tiger, like we've all been preconditioned to do. If you can get back into coherence quickly, then you're okay. But when you keep going out and stay out longer, almost stretching a rubber band that stays out further and further instead of snapping back to homeostasis, then that develops chronic sickness and disease. So what you're talking about is having a group of frequencies that you listen to help close that loop and bring that back to homeostasis, than letting you hang out in this fight or flight instead of rest or digest.
Exactly. So the body's designed to heal itself if you give it the right tools.
Correct.
And so the frequencies, they're an awesome tool. And you combine the frequencies with natural therapeutics and nutraceuticals and things of that nature, then that's when you can take these difficult chronic cases where the patient says, I've been to 5 doctors, I've been to 10 doctors, I've been to this clinic, that clinic, and I'm not getting well.
Right.
Then you're applying the concept of the whole team, the physical, the emotional, the mental, the spiritual, and we're very complex, multi-layered individuals.
Right.
And what happens is with the limbic system trauma loop, that's where a lot of people are today. The limbic system is the part of the brain that basically is, the job is for threat assessment. From the 5 senses. If you're sensing a threat, let's say the saber-toothed tiger is coming after you, then that HPA axis gets activated. The hypothalamus sends a message to the amygdala. The amygdala makes a phone call to your adrenal gland that puts you in fight or flight. And now you've got the adrenaline flowing. the blood moves away from the digestive system and reproductive system to move to your hands and your feet so you can defend yourself or run.
You can run, yeah.
And that's fine. So what happens is that trigger finger moves to a 10, activates that fight or flight, and now you're in survival mode. That's great. That's the way it's supposed to work. Once the danger is gone, then it's supposed to reset back to a 0. Well, a lot of patients, it never reset.
Wow.
They get stuck at a 7 or an 8.
Right.
And so that's a chronic limbic system trauma loop. Take post-traumatic stress syndrome. It's a one-time event that popped it to 10 and it stayed there. And now they've got post-traumatic stress syndrome. Most patients
because they're stuck there.
Exactly. Most patients aren't at that level, but they may be, trigger finger went back to a 3 or 4. And every time they have a drama or a trauma or an infection or argument with a spouse or financial issue, the trigger finger keeps moving up and up and up.
Wow.
So now it doesn't take very much to set them off. Now that person becomes hypersensitive to everything, including the people around them. And then you look at them and say, where'd that come from?
What's your problem? Yeah.
What sets you off?
Yeah.
So it can be
They're in
just-
that loop. They're out there at
Exactly.
a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Exactly. It can be just a
Wow.
small piece of the big event that happened 10 years ago, but just that small piece causes a resonant frequency and it activates and wakes it up. So now you jump back to a 10.
And I would imagine it's easier to get there if you've once been there. Like you said, that trauma event or whatever
That
kind of
rubber
opens
band?
that path. Yep, that's right.
So if you're sitting there at a 7 or an 8, then you're going to be hypersensitive and you're in a survival mode. And here's the other part of that. You've got the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. That's part of your autonomic nervous system. And I might add the third one is the enteric nervous system in the gut. But for our purpose of this conversation, sympathetic, parasympathetic. Sympathetic activates, you run from the tiger. Well, the parasympathetic is the rest, digest, I'm healing, and I feel safe. If you stay in that sympathetic mode because you're chronically stressed and you never reset, that inhibits the parasympathetic branch. And so the healing frequencies, the healing energies, the healing biochemistry is going to run from the saber-toothed tiger that's not there. It's just the memory. The memory's there. That script is still there. And I might add that the script, it started when you were in utero. So what's going on in your mother's life?
So your mom can affect that.
The words that your father spoke over you, the thoughts that your mother had, because your body responds to thoughts. Your cells respond to thoughts and words. And so it can date back to the trauma that occurred in the womb. That's the script that was set.
So we are cellular and cellular.
Exactly. And so that's why oftentimes I'll ask the patient, did you have a healthy childhood? Tell me about your childhood.
Right.
Oftentimes I'll get out the Kleenex because here the tears come.
Yeah, sure.
And they'll say, well, I got over it. Really? Well, here, have another Kleenex. They didn't get over it because it's stuck in the cellular memory.
It still triggers.
Exactly. And so that's why there's so many layers to health issues and health problems. Then enter in COVID and enter in long COVID and long haul COVID and all those things. Patients, their immune systems are just chaotic and just stuck in one level or the other. And again, that's why you want to use a combination of the frequencies and the nutraceuticals and the therapies.
Right.
In our clinic, we have, the brain mapping and things like that to determine what's going on here.
Yeah.
And
neurofeedback and
that's
all
part
that.
of the whole team concept that I'm alluding to.
Yeah. It makes me feel good that I've done a lot of things in my life as an entrepreneur, been all over the world, just like you have. And it makes me feel good that at this point in my life, I can dedicate my time, my energy, and my resources to things like this. Because when you're bringing hope and help and healing to the world, literally, we're in 190 countries, that makes a difference. That gives you such a good feeling at night that all these, a lot of stuff's been happening just these past couple of years, but this has been a 9-year overnight success, a 9-year. And for you, it's been a 57-year, where all of these things are now culminating to us being able to provide people with some of the best holistic resources available in the world in person right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma on the 51st floor of Cityplex Towers, But then from our app standpoint, from the Soak Sound frequencies, anywhere in the world, literally 24/7, 365. So people don't have to come in. They don't have to fly in. They can actually get help and hope there. And then once that interacts with them for a while, then they can go to the next level, the next level, the next level, if there is a next level, in that holistic led journey. So I'm so happy that we're able to meet and to go through this. I've got 1,000 more questions for you, but I think we'll do this in another segment because I want to go through some of the anti-aging work that you do. But ending on this, knowing that we have answers for people that are in need and who, hope for the hopeless, I think is something that we both are very proud to get to dedicate our lives to.
Absolutely. It's been a real pleasure, and it's expanded my horizons in terms of using the frequencies and the importance of internal coherence and things of that nature. It's just another tool that helps a lot of hurting people. And again, there's just not enough guys like us to help the plethora of individuals that are dealing with all kinds of crazy health issues.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, I have never done a commercial from a podcast, but I have a feeling that there are some people out there that may want to at least try this, and I want to give them a free 30-day trial. If you guys go to Soaak, SOAAK, /app, is that right, Christian? Yes, and then use the promo code SoakPod, SOAAKPOD. That will give you free 30 days. And if you like it, keep using it. Let us know. If you don't, quit. It doesn't matter. But I think that will give people the hope and the help that they're looking for, and give them a chance to actually feel how that can change that fight or flight dance that the body does every day, and teach them how to recover quicker, bring their body into homeostasis so that other things in their body can begin to heal naturally and holistically.
One thing I would add to that is it's also important when you're doing this is to stay hydrated.
Good. Yeah, you were telling me that the other day, that the body's like 80-something% water.
Yes.
And it's almost like charging a battery without water if you're not hydrated. But if you listen to frequencies with the water, it helps everything flow and put you in flow motion.
The other thing that I'm thinking about in medicine, as I was studying in Germany, there is what is called a right spin and a left spin. Mm-hmm. And I used to have a device that could measure the spin of the blood. And cancer patients and really ill patients, it was a left spin. Mm-hmm. And so we were able to test the nutrients and nutraceuticals that would move them from a left spin to a right spin, which is a healthier spin, and the body becomes more absorbable for nutrients and things of that nature. So it would be interesting to see if we could get the technology to determine what effect, if any, that the frequencies has on the spin. So you want to go from a left spin to a right spin.
Wow, I never knew that. Let's test that too.
Let's do it.
Thank you for being my guest this morning.
My pleasure.
All right.
Thank you for sharing your time with us today. After you've subscribed at Soak Podcast, please leave us your questions and comments. Remember, your frequency is what you think about most frequently. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.